look as handsome and lovely as all of you. I wanted to fit in, and I still don't think I got there. You all look so sharp and on the ball and ready to go today. So, but I did also, I have, if I can find it in my sleeve. Sacred Bengal. There you go. Bengal. So I will wear this. I went shopping with my personal shopper yesterday, and we went to the jewelry store, and I will wear this and think about you and think about the good work you're doing and my time here. And that is the reminder, that one of the reminders that I will take away as it dangles on my wrist. So that was my shopping adventure in preparation for today. The other thing in preparation for today is trying to determine how we are best to use our time. And schedule wise, we are going to try to be finished this morning to give you back your afternoon, so you can go see the goats and you can go make sure all your plants are ready and students can get some sleep or whatever they do, study. But that is what we will do today to get through our last two sessions, the curriculum mapping follow-up, and then the scholarship of teaching and learning. And that's what we'll end with. I had the opportunity to go through your 2-minute memo. So yesterday at the end of our session, we handed out a tool that I like to use. It's called a 2-minute memo, and it just asks people in attendance, what did you learn today? What did you take away from the session? And what is something that you would like to know more of? And it's a tool that I use all the time. It's really easy to do. If you don't have these fancy pieces of paper, you can just make squares and put the questions on the board, or you can just orally provide them to the people in the room. And it's a really great way to have communication and to find out what's going on. And it was really interesting to see consistency and some of the things that you were excited about and interested about in terms of engagement, the first day of class. And then the other part, what did you want to know more about? And one of the ones that came through quite clearly was Gagne's 9 events of instruction. People wanted to know more about this and wanted to have a discussion about it. I kind of threw it at you at the end, so it wasn't totally a surprise. But if I was continuing that lecture today, or continuing in that class, if we were just talking about teaching in the class, then we would stop, we would break this down, we would have more of an opportunity to go with it based on that feedback. And so that's how that tool would be used. Some of you put your names on it, but happy that most of them were just personal and anonymous, and then the group can be addressed as a group, as opposed to you want to know about that and you want to know about that. And it's those big theme ideas that come into play. So I wanted to have some closure around this particular technique because it's simple. It can be used at any time. And it's a great gauge in terms of new material you might be teaching, or material that you know that students struggle with. And so you give them a voice about a particular lesson. Very easy to do. And it also provides you with material you can share in terms of reviewing of your teaching and saying, this is something I do regularly. Oh, good. They are interested in being better. They're asking for student input. And it's a really simple tool. Anyway, the problem with this is if you don't have a follow-up the next day, and people will say, hey, did you get my question? Or they'll say, well, I'm not going to fill it out because you didn't address the question. So it's always important to take the 2 minutes at the end of the class to have people fill it out, and then take 2 minutes at the beginning of class the next day just to really informally and briefly go over some of the things that you're hearing in terms of the messaging. So that's where we're at. We are going to, as I mentioned, turn things over to Dr. Kieran and Dr. Goucher. Mr. Goucher, Doctor, yes, sorry. Why does it always say Mr. on all the things? And I call you Mr. and it should be Doctor. And they're going to tie in some of the ideas around curriculum mapping that we talked about last week, but really specific to what's going on here with the programming that you're involved in, and maybe some of the next steps. So we figure 3 or 4 hours, maybe 5 hours. Yeah, okay, we'll see how things go. But anyway, I'll turn things over to my colleagues and I'll wheel out of the way. No, I trade you spots. Cool. I will sit here. I want to be sunny eyes today, so I will sit here. Well, no, yes. Welcome to the neighborhood. Yeah. Not sanitized, sanitized.
So, good morning, everyone. Myself, Dr. Kiran, and I and Dr. Gurshir are the research scientists in the project entitled the OIE Veterinary Education Twinning Project between the University of Calgary and Guru Angad Dev Veterinary Animal Sciences University. So, one of the objective of this project is to make curriculum reform, and how that can be made. That can be made by mapping the courses to the curriculum. That is what curriculum mapping is. So the basic definition of curriculum mapping is to create a more effective curriculum by engaging all the faculty and staff in a collaborative effort. So that's why I'm here. So we are here to just give a basic idea about what we are doing in this whole process and what are the findings we have till now. So this is the objective. So we are making a curriculum reform. So why we are making? So it should be outcome-based curriculum. So the curriculum which is more related to the learning outcomes, or learning outcomes are also called as competency. And what are the basis of this curriculum reform? Like how, based on what we are making it. So the basis is the OIE recommendations on the competencies of graduating veterinarians and veterinary education core curriculum, the OIE guidelines. They are using it as a reference point and especially focus on the gap analysis, curriculum reform and revision. Gap analysis means what is lacking in our curriculum and up to what extent. So these are the two documents on which the whole curriculum mapping is based. The OIE gave these two documents, the OIE recommendations on the competencies of graduating veterinarians, they call as day one graduates, and the veterinary education core curriculum. So they gave these two documents to establish an international standard of veterinary education in the member countries. OIE has 182 member countries, so they want to establish an international standard of the veterinary education. So they gave these two documents, and these two documents gave us minimum competencies like our VCI gave us. So we can, according to our nation demand, which reflects our nation's context, we can change the competencies according to our nation demand. So these competencies are used, so they are basically to perform the entry level national veterinary services task. So we are only talking about the undergraduation here and more of the skill and entrepreneurship levels. So here are the competencies. We have also given out the handout of these competencies to everyone. Most of you are well aware of these competencies because these you have already done work on this. So these are the competencies. I'm not going to read each and every one of them because that will be get boring for everyone. So some of the basic idea, like the number 3 is the ability to perform deworming, vaccination, and animal husbandry procedures. Then the awareness about animal inspection and certification procedures for registration, their transfer, trading, and insurance. Number 6, the awareness about animal farm biosecurity, biosafety, biomedical waste management procedures. And then the number 10, knowledge of sector-specific skill requirements to start an entrepreneurial venture. Like these, there are 37 competencies, the conceptualization of business startups in areas of livestock products, then the knowledge of food safety standards of animal products. Like these are the competencies which are made by our university. Number 19, ability to perform anti-mortem inspection and the gross post-mortem examination, their collection, storage, and transportation of tissue samples.
These are made by our university.
Our university, no, our university based on their recommendations. It is made by deans
Considering
in a collaborative effect by all the faculty.
considering all the courses of
Yes, ma'am.
BSc.
Yes.
On the basis of that, we classified that 3 types of complete course, and the initial work was given by sir to us.
Yes, sir.
Was BCI was involved in research?
No, sir.
Then
Sir, after we
do you think that
complete,
this will materialize?
after we complete this,
Is the VCA involved?
no, sir, not till now. After we complete all this.
That's what he's asking. Will it materialize?
Let us hope.
Let's hope.
Maybe.
Let's
Yes,
see
sir.
what-
Will it see light of the day?
Yes, maybe we will make reforms and give it to them. See, like 26, knowledge about pain and stress management in animals, including procedural details about euthanasia of animal patient. So on. Number 30, knowledge about anesthetic procedures and handling anesthetic emergencies. Like this, there are all the competencies. And number 35, ability to advise or establish pet animal clinical practice through dedicated clinical complex. Number 36, communication skills which are required to organize mass camps, disseminate the latest scientific information and technologies, and so on. So these were the 37 competencies based on which we are mapping our courses to the competencies. So as you already know, we have 18 courses in our department. So these are the courses, and we have divided the courses into 4 divisions: basic clinical science, veterinary preclinical science, veterinary clinical science, and the animal production sciences. So this is the map, like sir has already explained as how a map is formed, matrix of framework to do curriculum mapping. So this is how we made it. So on the Excel spreadsheet, in the top row, we have listed all the competencies. And in the first column, we have listed all the courses in one spreadsheet. And in the other spreadsheet, it includes all the lectures, including theory and practical. So this is how the framework is made. And this sheet is sent to every faculty of the course, and they map it according to what they teach. So how we mark the courses? We mark the courses and lectures that fulfill the competency with the legends I, D, and A. So I is introduced, means the key ideas and skills that are introduced at introductory level. Then the D, when the student demonstrate the outcome at an increasing level of proficiency. Here, the learning activities they concentrate on enhancing and strengthening the skills they already know or the knowledge they already have. Then the advanced, when the student demonstrate the learning outcome with increasing level of independence and expertise. They perform the skills with expertise and independence. So that is how it is advanced. So this is how the sheet looks like, the spreadsheet, and then the spreadsheet with the lectures, all the lectures, theory and practical. So this is how we make a framework of this mapping. So now comes the outcome, that what we have found from these mapping. So here comes some graphical presentation. So first graph, so it represents total number of courses that are linked to program competencies. Means one competency is covered or fulfilled by how many courses. So when we arrange the data in descending order, we found that competency number 14 and 17, they are fulfilled by 9 departments respectively. And so on, like 6 and 20 by the 8 departments, and so on. And at the last, you can see the competency number 36 is fulfilled by 3 departments, and the competency number 37 is fulfilled by 2 departments. I've also mentioned at the end the competency, so you can have a basic idea, which is the competency that is ranking the first here. So next comes the total number of enabling competencies that are linked to courses, means how many competencies touched by one department. So this is the data. So when we arrange it in descending order, it comes the veterinary medicine course. It touches or fulfills the 25 competencies. The surgery and veterinary surgery and radiology, 20 competencies, and so on. This is the data. And at the last, you can see the livestock products technology. They fulfill 3 competencies, veterinary physiology 2 competencies, and veterinary biochemistry 1 competency. Understandable, this is. Then comes the total number of course outcomes that are linked to program competency. Course outcomes here means the lectures. So this is the data arranged in descending order. So you can see the competency number 14 is fulfilled by 571 lectures throughout the curriculum.
Theory plus practical.
Yes, sir, theory plus practical. The number 13 by 406. And so on, the data is, and at the last you can see the competency number 34 by 22 course outcomes and 37 by 15 course outcomes. Then this is how we split the data. So we split the data according to course wise. So veterinary, so here the total number of course outcome linked to program competency department wise, or you can say course wise. So the Department of Veterinary Anatomy, they taught us, they teach 261 lectures which are linked to competencies. And so on, the data is like this. This can be more clear by this table here. Everyone can see it. It's like, so here you can see, we have also arranged according to the lecture, the credit hours we have dedicated to them. So like, if you can see the first one, the veterinary anatomy, the total credit hours is 4 plus 3. The total lecture becomes 294. And they are linked to 7 competencies, and the lectures they are linked to is 261 lectures they are teaching, which is linked to the total 37 competencies. And the data is so on the veterinary physiology and all the courses. So from this table, we can make some changes or we can reform our curriculum, but this progress is still going on. It is not done. So we can say, like, if some department is having, like veterinary physiology is having 210 lectures, it's theory plus practical, but it is touching only 2 competencies, only 22 lectures are linked to that competencies. So we can reform here, we can decrease the credit hours of that particular course and introduce some other course which is required in our curriculum for our competencies to match it. And there are furthermore, like veterinary biochemistry, 168 total lectures are there, but it is only linked to 1 competencies. But the one thing main point is to consider here, this is all the competencies are all related to the skill or entrepreneurship venture. We should not consider that is going for a post graduation or something like, then people will say that the basis is, we need it, the course lectures, we need it. So this is we doing it, and the further we are doing it, we are mapping the curriculum according to mapping level. Like sir told us, he gave us an idea that we can do it according to mapping level, that which course is introduced, which is developed, which is advanced, either the students are getting mastery before the introduction of the course. So we are mapping it and it's still going on. So this is till now we have done in our curriculum mapping. So you can suggest us what we can do further in it, how to improve it, and what can next be done. Thank you.
This is for day 1 graduate.
Yes.
Okay, work.
Day 1 graduate, he not only is a veterinarian, but he can go into industrial sector.
Yes, sir.
So there the competencies are different.
Yes,
And
sir.
if you
But,
do that also,
Hanji.
the results will be quite different.
Quite different. But sir, the
These are
definition.
for a practicing veterinarian.
Yes.
Supposing he wants to go to, many of our students go to Johnson Johnson or Abbott or Pfizer, whatever.
That's where
So
sir,
there the
main point
competencies are
comes.
different.
But sir, the OIE gave the definition of day 1 graduate.
Okay, that's for
Yes.
day 1 graduate.
They're saying the
So
day
it
1
should not be
graduate
that we can exclude.
is someone who can perform the entry level national veterinary service task.
Yeah.
They gave the definition. That's why they made the competencies according to it.
I think my suggestion is, the first thing is we have to separate veterinary science from animal science. Animal science, there should be separate, like in foreign universities, there are separate BSc animal sciences there, veterinary science is different. So if somebody, there should be like 2 programs, basically there should be 3 programs.
Yeah.
One should be BBSc and AH, which is all program. Another should be only BBSc, another should be only BSc animal sciences. Okay. And it should be flexible. And when somebody enters into the veterinary science, and first year he can give the option whether he want to go for BBSc only or want to go BBSc and AH. Okay.
That's a very good suggestion.
Okay. And because nowadays it's very much clear that urban students, rural students are very rare nowadays. Urban students, they don't want animal husbandry. They want only BBSc. Okay. So BBSc curriculum should be reduced to 4 years. And if somebody want BBSc and AH, then he can continue for another year and 5 years and 5.5 years, and he can get the degree for BBSc and AH.
Yes.
So but this is the best suggestion. And another thing is, somebody want to go only for like animal nutrition side, or I want to go for livestock production side, and only BSc animal sciences.
Correct.
That should be 3 years.
Or BSc animal science or BSc is animal nutrition, something like that.
Like if NRI students are coming to us, why we are teaching animal husbandry to them?
Yeah.
Why we are teaching to them? They don't need it.
Well called, correct, very right.
Okay.
They need
So,
just BBSc.
Yes, it should be flexibility should be there. If somebody just, for example, first year they have given the option out of 3, and in second year they change the mind. Yes, flexibility should be there. Let the person change the mind and continue with the BBSc and AH.
He can.
Even in third year, even in 4th year, flexibility should be there.
Very
But at least there should be three degrees should be there. So we have been clubbed, like in first year, when they come across like LPM, LPT and all that, and they are not least
They don't need
interested.
Yes.
They are not interested at all. So this is my suggestion.
Bilkul.
What will be the job prospects? How will you
Like
differentiate?
if somebody wants to, like if I think if somebody is coming from metro cities or semi-metro cities, they don't want government job. They want their own practice.
Yes.
And BBSc is good
Mm.
for them.
Welcome.
Okay, and if they want a government job, then they can go for another 1.5 years and
Age.
they can go for BSc and AH. It should be flexible.
Yeah,
That means for government job, you want BBSc and H only.
correct.
That's fine. If they want a BBA government job, that's fine. Because now the generation is very fast. They have very clear vision and they whatever they want, they have already decided in first year or second year.
Then how they will get entry into animal husbandry department, sir?
That's what I'm saying.
That's what he explained.
5 साल, 5.5 साल की रहेगी.
If you want, you can do additional 1 year.
Everybody is not going to Canada, na?
No, 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 no.
No,
No. He's saying there are many students who have started their own clinics in urban areas. They just want BBSc and BBSc only.
But they didn't get job also. This
No. You are mistaken.
इसमें डॉक्टर साहब जो एक और
Should be there means if.
Then how will you set up all of these timetables?
They can extend.
Yes,
their-
that's what I'm saying.
That's what he said.
Yes. So.
Many of them have left government job by choice.
Yes.
I know a student, Sarah Chima, maybe you have taught her. She just she topped the state exam. She was #1 in veterinary officer. She left it. She wants her own clinic.
Because nowadays the small unit,
But
the
that
way
too
small
in,
unit practice is coming up in our country.
Right.
Now the people they because there is a lot of hassles are there in the animal husbandry department.
Yes.
A lot of paperwork is there.
They don't
Lot of
want.
stress is there. People they want.
They are taking easy way out.
Yeah.
You are simply saying
Yeah.
that.
So I think.
No, that pertains to needs of the country.
Yes.
But private
I'm
clinics,
talking about Canada. I'm not talking about.
No. Our own country.
Yes, our own country, and I'm talking about NRI students.
No. Bilkul. Yeah, he is absolutely correct.
and you should have a separate college for.
No.
Sir,
Why don't you understand what?
ਸਿਸਟਮ ਨੂੰ ਚੇਂਜ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਆਪਾਂ
Yeah.
ਅੱਖਾਂ ਬੰਦ ਕਰ ਲਈਏ ਤੇ
ਬਿਲਕੁਲ।
ਫਿਰ ਪਿਜਨ ਵਾਲਾ ਹੀ ਹਾਲ ਅੱਖਾਂ ਬੰਦ ਕਰ ਲਈਏ ਤੇ ਬਿੱਲੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਅਟੈਕ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰੇਗੀ।
Right.
ਐ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਏਗਾ।
It is need of the hour, I think.
बहुत बढ़िया sir.
If you want to become a veterinary officer in state government, you do AH also.
Flexibility, that's a national education policy. Flexibility should be there.
Yes.
If somebody want to go
Yes.
ahead, go and like do another 1.5 year and go to the veterinary officer.
National
job.
education policy
Yes.
says we need need-based education,
Yes, sir.
not just
Why
everything.
the veterinarian should go to the pharmaceutical, to the animal nutrition company? Why the veterinarian?
Why?
Because we are wasting the caliber.
Yeah,
So the
Right.
simple BSc with animal sciences can go to the animal
Yes.
nutrition companies or even milk companies or milk fed or mark fed or any, wherever there is a
correct,
need.
very right.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Just to clarify, it sounds like you have a well thought out plan. If someone goes through with that program, do they still cover those day one? Like, do they
That is
still
what-
meet all the requirements? No.
Just,
Okay.
hold on. He's saying BBSc and I'll just make a
Yeah.
diagram, BBSc and AH. There's a big, एक minute,
Okay.
that's all.
No, I think my question's answered.
No, it is the biggest degree. It covers everything. Then comes BBSc.
Yeah.
Simply that is for urban students. It doesn't cover
going to interrupt to just go back over some of the slides. So, I appreciate the passion that's here, and I have been involved in many discussions, much like the one that you have raised when people look at this opportunity. The first round with this data is intended to show you your place in it.
Yes.
And as we go back and we just went back to this slide, you'll notice that they are expertly put together in terms of how the learning outcomes are matched, and then they are ranked. So I think, as you had mentioned, it's good for all of you to get a copy of this, to take back to your departments, to say, we feel comfortable in terms of our contribution, and to have some of the discussions like you're having now. So for example, we talked about key themes that are a part of everything in our program. And when you look at, say, 14 and 17 being really high, are those two of the most important things that you
14.
wish people to have?
Yes, 14 is knowledge about etiology and pathogenesis of various disease condition in animals.
Yeah. And
That's important.
17 as well.
That's mainly covered by major
Yeah.
departments, almost all departments.
Because you
except
need,
animal science.
because whenever you want to preach, you need a base.
So
How did this disease occur? So pathogenesis.
So if you are looking to make major program changes, like Dr. Arun has suggested, these are some of the sacred parts of any program that you have. So if you do go with the 3 programs or 4 or 7 or a new college or whatever you want to do, the conversations come back to this, what has been shared in terms of what is important, what are we already doing, and must these be in every program if we make the change? If, like you say, you take out the animal husbandry aspect of it, and again, I don't know if this is possible, but I'm just using your great example. What has to be added into some of those courses if you take that last year and a half off, or if you take the internship off, or if you're not working with large animals? So it's really good to see how maybe some of these are already not very prevalent, and to make those major changes might be easy. But some of the ones on the far end, the 14s and the 17s, the 6s and the 20s, those ones may be non-negotiable based on the way that you're putting your program together.
Just another example, not related to us, but that is pharmacy. Previously, B Pharmacy, Bachelor of Pharmacy, he used to go in your country and he used to get the license, and he used to take the test and get the license. Now they have stopped B Pharmacy. They do not recognize B Pharmacy in
No,
US.
it's-
Our Indian
it's
B
doc-
Pharmacy is, yeah. So now Indian government has added internship to B Pharmacy, and that is called PharmD.
PharmD, yeah.
PharmD.
We have
Yeah.
that at my university as well.
So they say you don't have, dealing with the patients or doctors, how can you practice pharmacy in US? So now they have added PharmD, and that is a 6-year course. It is, 6 years course.
More than MBBS.
Yes. It is very prestigious. It is in the KM Medical College, Belgaum. Yes.
So
they
what
have
they
started.
teach in 6 years?
Yeah, they do internship.
How many years internship?
They do 1.5 year of internship.
And 4.5 years, what they teach? Pharmacology?
B Pharm. No, it's not pharmacology, it's pharmacy.
Okay.
It's different, totally different.
What
B Pharmacy.
in pharmacy they teach, sir?
What they teach in pharmacy? Ask
4.5
them.
years.
How do I know what they?
Yes,
So-
you are referring it, sir.
No.
I'm asking.
I'm giving you an example. I mean, B
Sir,
Pharm.
they are increasing for 5.5 years. And everybody is saying it should be for 3 years.
Now, B Pharmacy,
Pharma is going for 6 years.
it's not B Pharma, it's Pharm
Oh,
D.
yes, I understand.
B Pharmacy cannot write doctor after his name.
I-
Pharm D can write doctor after
I
his
am
name.
agreeing with you.
Longest degree in India.
Yes, it's the longest degree in
I am
India.
agreeing.
Huh?
I am agreeing with you.
Yeah, you are asking what they do in B
Yes,
Pharmacy.
Yes, sir.
Okay, B Pharmacy, they teach compounding and dispensing of medicine. So B Pharmacy can get job in pharma industry in USA, but not a license to practice. So they know how to make drugs.
Yes.
That's what they do in pharmacy. But after that,
That is
you-
chemistry.
Oh, no. Why you are arguing?
Yes, chemistry
Might be a part of.
Yes, might be.
It's a small.
So let us understand.
It is, yeah, okay.
Fight, sir.
Compounding.
Yes,
Chalo, leave it.
Collection, no. You know,
Yeah.
pharmacy is collecting, compounding and dispensing of medicine.
Yes, sir. Yes, I.
Collecting, compounding and dispensing, that is B Pharmacy.
Can I interrupt?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to anyway. But what I see in this conversation is, and the same thing happens at my university, where we did curriculum mapping and a review, and we moved our B farm into a farm D,
Mhm.
but the majority of the program is exactly the same. There is more internship, more practical, but as far as the content goes, there hasn't been a huge change because you still have the people with the bachelors doing all the same work as the new doctors. And like you say, the main reason is so that people can feel like you're a doctor. You
No.
still do a lot of the same work in our college. So anyway, so are we, if we are changing our program, are we just moving some of the pieces around, but keeping the core competencies? And maybe, like you say, if we shorten it, we take the animal husbandry part out of it. And so that's what shortens it. It still gives you the opportunity to go through all the competencies, but you don't get the same exposure and the same time with the larger animals if you're not planning on working in a government job or in a rural setting.
I'm not saying larger animal.
Yeah.
I'm saying animal husbandry is separate, means like
Yeah.
animal husbandry where animal nutrition is there. Or some
Actually-
livestock products is there.
Actually, you have no feeling of this veterinary degree in India.
No, I don't.
So that's the,
Yes.
yeah.
But I'm just saying, here's an example of how pharmacy has changed. And if you're talking about using this information to make major structural changes, it may not be that huge of a change. It may just be moving around because you have content that you need to teach. Even if you eliminate some of those aspects to be certified for the OIE, you can't say, no, we're not going to do it anymore, because then those people are not technically veterinarians.
Indian bee pharmacy, Canada accepts, but with a bridge course. They have to do a bridge course, and only then you get a license. Otherwise, you can go in industry anywhere in the bee pharmacy just for making drugs. So you can, but previously they were just giving them license to compound and dispense medicines for the patients, which now they cannot.
Sarji, that is there if you want to go abroad.
Yeah, that is, but Indian government has done it in national education.
It, I think it's just like the killing of our own breed with crossbreeding.
That is a.
Breeds are gone. Suggestion?
Suggestion हो गया, मतलब वो suggestion क्या होना?
Sir, we can take some pointers. It's not that destroy all the things.
No.
Will never enter. Parker,
That's all right.
No,
Parker gone.
that's how you.
So you are making a student HF.
Go on.
No.
Okay.
अपने जितने स्टूडेंट्स है जो अपने रूरल बैकग्राउंड के किन्ने के
किन्ने दसो जी? हाँ किन्ने? Okay, 3, 4. Raise your hands, please. 1, 2.
इसमें से कितने के घर पे एनिमल है?
अच्छा
Yes, that's a
कितने के घर पे एनिमल है? किसने एनिमल
English.
डॉक्टर साहब, आपके घर पे एनिमल है तो वो अच्छा है, किसी के घर पे नहीं है, उसको हो सकता है आपसे ज्यादा प्यार हुआ नहीं। आप ऐसा मत करो ना कि उसको आप क्लासिफाई कर दो।
That's a option है आपके पास.
तो डॉक्टर साहब ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਰੂਰਲ ਬੈਕਗ੍ਰਾਉਂਡ ਕੋਟਾ ਰੱਖ ਦੋ, ਕਿਉਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਰੱਖ ਸਕਦੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ?
मैं 60% कर रहा
ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਸਹਿਮਤ ਆ, ਪਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਡਿਸਟਰੋਏ ਕਰ ਦੋ ਆਪਣਾ ਸਿਸਟਮ ਖਰਾਬ ਹੀ ਹੈਗਾ ਜੀ।
Destroy नहीं करनी. और government
नहीं चलेगी।
ਸਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ ਥਿਊਰੀ ਤੇ।
Dr. Harkirat,
रहते आप पाव नहीं बनाते
Oh, you don't want to, you want me back in the middle? Okay. Well, good morning. Nice to see you. Maybe we should start over. We were just planning the new programs in the university. I think we almost have it figured out.
He is,
I want to just
he is going
show
to say
you.
yes. Trust me. Okay.
Now he already told me it would be hard. Oh, sorry, yes, कर दो.
No,
Yes,
Just think.
Sir, yes,
No, but he's not there at all. Okay, go ahead.
ਨਹੀਂ ਮੈਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੁਛ ਯਾਰ ਮੈਂ ਚੱਲ ਗਈ ਮੇਰਾ ਹੁਣ ਐਨਰਜੀ ਉੱਤੇ ਲੱਗੇਗੀ ਹੁਣ ਇਸ ਵਾਰ
Okay, let him.
ਬਾਅਦ ਵਿੱਚ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਾਂਗਾ
So despite the aspects of this programming that you agree on or don't agree on,
That's a big national service actually.
I want to say that I'm very impressed with the amount of data that is in front of you. And if I was in your position, and I know that there are some aspects of your program that you wish to examine and maybe take apart, but I would encourage you to go through this information with your departments. I would encourage you to go through it so that you give it the tummy test first and foremost. Does that seem right? If we have gone through and we have mapped these types of things, for example, does that actually match with our true indication of what's going on? We may have said we did, but I think that confirmation process is important to take it back and to say, for example, yeah, we feel comfortable that this represents us really well.
Here course outcome means lectures, right, Kiran? So these are number of lectures which are related
Yeah.
to the competencies, okay?
Yes.
And out of the total,
only 22 lectures sir
I think that should be reflected in a percentage form.
we are giving
Percentage form.
Okay.
no, 61 percentage.
22 lectures
Where is
So
the surgery?
second one
This is the nice, sir, second physiology.
That is physiology, man. No, surgery is doing great.
119.
119. You are way ahead of us, 82.
That be 261. Sir, less than para. One lecture. Yes.
What is the?
So I think then we are doing excellent.
Yeah.
Hands proved.
I think it's not number of lecture, it is number of lectures. Some percentage lectures, they also merge with other.
Yeah, theory plus
Where the
practical.
competencies are same.
Yeah.
So I don't think.
So these are good suggestions. For example, what helps you to work with the data and understand it better? So it may be percentages as well as raw score.
Percentage.
Yeah.
119 out of maybe 140. All are.
My question is,
It is.
साढ़े देखो ना 82.
there must be someone who has been assigned for this, right? One person per department, right?
Yes.
189.
So there would be some biasness.
Yes.
189.
Biasness.
That's good.
Statistically, there will be definitely biasness. Because if there is
We
one
cannot
person
correlate it to the.
who is doing that, definitely there is biasness. No, that's different. But if we talk about the, if we talk about the design, there is biasness.
So a really good question, if I can get your attention back again.
Animal nutrition.
The idea of percentages may be helpful.
अपने department से.
Gentlemen, if I could,
Biasness are.
gentlemen,
Yes, sir, just a little louder. Then everybody will, you get the role of super alpha. All will become beta gamma.
I usually flash the lights. What I want to stress is that this is the first time you're seeing this information.
Correct.
It has been, to Dr. Rajneesh's question, it has been compiled in your departments by one person, but it has been reviewed by the dean.
Yes.
None of those people are robots or machines or perfect. So I think it's really important for you to go back and have the discussion. So
Chances of error, they are
Less.
not like more than 5, 7.
one person has compiled but each and everyone was consulted
Yes.
Consulted, yes, definitely.
but now you have the aggregate data. So I think it is important to use this as a communication tool and continue to bring this back and suggestions that you have to the group so that you are refining it and you're making it more useful. I will stress again that this is a big project, as you well know, but to get it to this point, I think is a major milestone. I think it is significant that when you have these discussions, you now have something to focus on, as opposed to this is what I feel and this is what I think. You've got some hard data to back that up as well. That's not to discount that the intrinsic understanding that you have about your program and how it works, what's happening in the world around the program. And if you are able to convince the powers that be that changes can be made, then you have the data to show them that you can still deliver good graduates, even though you may want to make changes. Or you can say, yes, this is a requirement in our program, but we're doing so little of it. We would like to change and focus more of our efforts in some of the areas, the outcomes that are really what we feel are more important. So that's, again, how you use this kinds of information. You can leverage it to have important discussions about change. And I know, speaking with the dean, he's being asked to present to government officials to talk about this. So the more information you can get to him about your needs, that will help guide his communication and understanding.
There's an error here. You see 2 plus 1, do you see the last 3 departments?
That is
Oh,
63 weeks.
hold on, that is 63. And you look at the 4th last, that is 3 plus 1, that is 1 means 1. That is 42 there and that is 63 there.
According to the instructional
4
days,
days.
first, second and third in professional year have 250 to 10 instructional days. And the fourth year have 15 instructional days.
1.5 साल था सर
डेढ़ साल.
सर 1.5 साल
It's according to the thing.
Okay, thanks for the
clarification. Good.
42 weeks, 63 weeks.
वही.
You have 63 weeks in a year in India?
Half.
No, no.
1.5. 1.5.
1.5
Very stretched calendar.
1.5.
Yes.
That fourth year is 1.5 year.
But these are the questions that we ask, like, why does it look like that? Can you help? We have experts here to explain it. And the suggestions that you're making around the table are good.
First,
No, just wait. You want email comments, you want feedback directly to you, you want suggestions that come up because the conversation is good. But can you imagine being the person trying to make sense of it all when you're saying no, and you're saying no, and he's saying yes, and you're saying maybe? Give concrete feedback in a manner that can be useful to the people who are going through the process. The discussions are great, and I love the passion in this room. I was saying, if we have a discussion like this in Canada, we will often adopt some of our indigenous protocols, and we will have a rock or a feather or a talking stick, and it will be passed around the room. And unless you have that in your hand, you are not allowed to speak. You listen. And so it's very different here where the communication is kind of like driving through the streets downtown where everyone's going in the same direction. It's like Delhi traffic. But it is.
New Delhi or Old Delhi?
helpful. All the Delhis.
No, New Delhi is really good.
Yes.
Old Delhi is like the way you're saying.
So I encourage you to have these passionate conversations, but if you want change to happen, you need to put it down, send it through email, then you will get a response. Then you'll have the dean thinking about it. Then you'll have the other people who are listening have the concrete evidence that goes with the numbers and goes with the data that you've collected. But I'm just really thrilled again at where you are at, and compliments to all of you who've been engaged in it. Compliments to those people who have been sleeping, maybe not sleeping with this under their pillow to try to make sense of it. And this is the real life example of curriculum mapping. I took you through some of the theory last week, and we talked about some of the ideas, but you have definitions. You did a really good job of saying, where we are at in terms of mastery, introduction, that, so everyone has a common understanding of what their class may be labeled. And if you don't agree, when you look at that spreadsheet and say, no, we do more than just introduce it, that's your chance to speak up and say, I think there's been an error here, we need to correct it. And again, it's something that is part of an ongoing conversation. Curriculum mapping in a healthy, vibrant, growing program never ends. It's something that you are constantly doing. So it's not, okay, we're all finished, never again. You just start the next cycle.
No.
Anyway, good. Okay. I want us to go to our final session of the Academy, which is the Scholarship of Teaching and Learning. Oh, thank you. Good job. Bashir took off. I don't know. He was just like no help at all, right? He just, I'm kidding. Yeah, he just left. Are you ordering pizza?
Me?
Yes. Was that what you're?
I wish I could.
Oh. you were. Domino's, your order's ready. Yes. Oh, look at that. So there is a beautiful picture of the University of Saskatchewan campus. And I was just out for a walk one day, and you can see that there is a very large dog on campus in the middle of that picture.
Dog with a in front of.
Dog with a human inside it, yes. That is our mascot, and he is a large husky. And he, she, they, depending on who's in the costume, come to different events and get the students excited about what's going on. But I just happened to be walking and I thought, that's a very strange thing to see to start your day. A person in a dog costume walking through the trees through campus. But that's also to prove that when you come to Saskatchewan, and I invite all of you to come, you will see snow, but you will also see very beautiful treed campus and lovely buildings and opportunities to maybe see someone dressed up in a costume. The Scholarship of Teaching and Learning is how we'll end our academy, and it is, if you looked at number, I think it was number 37, it talks about professional development. So on your learning outcomes, the ability to carry out self-SWOT analysis of veterinary professional and improve. You want to do it right now? Okay.
We just started, no?
I just started.
Why you just pass the
Okay, sure. Apparently the dean is summoning us to our group photo.
Okay,
So fix your hair,
short break.
straighten your tie. Good thing we didn't get started too far into this. So,
Dress to express.
well,
Impress.
just to express, that's what I'm doing. I'm expressing my love of India and Ludhiana and Gadvasu by wearing my shirt and my silver today. So that's what I'm doing, expressing, not impressing. Hi. Oh, look at you. Please. We were almost started, and then your timing could not be more perfect. Because the dean's timing is always perfect, right?
The boss
Yes,
is
the boss
always
is
right.
always right, yes.
And when he is athletic too.
Yes.
So
He runs 20 kilometers every day.
See your impact.
Yes,
Otherwise, they will not speak.
no,
I will come, they will be silent.
oh. my
Now, see
God.
your impact of the 5 days, now they're speaking.
I've destroyed them all, yes, I ruined it, yeah. They're expressing their appreciation and gratitude
Yeah.
to you, so, yeah.
So, we thought to give you some token of love with all the members here. Yeah. What are we doing?
Uh-oh, who's our photographer? I'm taking my glasses off because I'm vain. I don't like pictures with my glasses on, to be honest with you. So,
Because in the afternoon we'll meet there, these all people will not be there.
Yeah.
But it's very good remembrance for you. We have pictures. with
Yes.
all in the group.
wonderful.
So this is now the last one.
Yes, the most important one. Turn everyone into researchers, famous researchers.
Are you ready? आयो तुसी बच्चों में
चलो हो जाओगे
लंबे लंबे पीछे आए, Is there a box that I can stand on?
सारे आए
Get the sit here, yeah.
इधर आ
बराबर हो गए दोनों बस
लवप्रीत इधर आ जाओ।
नहीं सेट रहा है देख लो
फिर इधर पहले बिगड़ जाना विचकार जा जाओ
Good. We hold this, we smile, we look at each other longingly, yes.
we can look at each other, we can look there also.
Okay. That's wonderful. Oh. It's good. Pleasure. Wow. I don't know how I'm gonna get that back on the airplane. I may need to get another seat just for this. Airplane. Thank you.
Please carry on.
Yes.
You, I will meet you there, when I will, dear guest, okay?
Yes.
I will call you or I will come there. You will be there in the room till
Yes.
after lunch till 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I was gonna put this here for the rest of the day. Okay.
Back to the spare.
That's perfect. Anyway, where were we before we were so rudely interrupted? My gosh, yes. So now you know that Saskatchewan has big dogs. One of the things that you want your students to be able to do is to carry out self-SWOT analysis as a veterinary professional and improve self-competencies. So that's a learning outcome in your program. And I think it's also a really important learning outcome for all of you as faculty. So we want our students to continue to learn and to grow. And that's what you have been doing this last week. And I'm glad that you are here. I'm very honored that you have stuck with us. But we need to, as professionals, as teacher scholars, to continue to meet that goal as well. So it should be something that you are focused on, and in your own practice, continue to wonder and think and grow, just like you want your students to be able to do. And so that is what we're going to talk about today in terms of maybe a process to unpack some of the things that are a part of your world and some of the things that make you think, trouble you, wish you did a better job of, or happy to see you are successful and wish to share with other people. So this is what we are going to do in this last session. I'm going to introduce you to the concept of scholarship of teaching and learning. I call it SOTL. Some people call it SOTL, whatever, potato, but it is a viable option for those wanting to increase or diversify their programs of research. So if you are someone who is publishing and is successful, you may want to add to what you're doing and reflect on your teaching. Again, we're going to look at some of the methodologies that are in place and some of the ways that you can actually do this. So I'm leaving you with kind of a how-to guide and hopefully interest you in something that is in your practice. So give you a chance to, by the end of the session, think about a specific aspect of what you do in your teaching practice that you may want to know more about or you may want to expand upon. So that's it. Pretty simple, but again, for some people, it might be very new. I'm not sure, has anyone heard of this concept before or worked with the Scholarship of Teaching and Learning? No? New to everybody? Okay, that's good. So we're all starting. That was my pre-test, my assessment quiz to see where everybody is, and that's good because then we will have lots of room for growth. Cool. Here is a really simple definition that might help your understanding. SOTL is a process where instructors look back on what they've done in a systematic manner and then share what they discover with others. Serves as a conduit for disseminating contemporary research findings and making accessible practical applications of educational theories and practices related to teaching and learning for all stakeholders in education. So it's a way of you looking at what you're doing in your teaching practice and having it come forward in a manner where other people can benefit. And there are, like other kinds of research, when we want to be better about understanding the content of our work, if people have discovered a new disease or a new process, they will publish it, we will read it, and we'll try to build it into what's going on for our knowledge base. Here, we're looking specifically at how you might teach differently, how you might engage those backbenchers in your class of 105 who seem to sit and don't connect the way you want them to, or the people who show up late for clinical and don't have a lab coat or aren't prepared. what do you do in your teaching to try to solve some of those issues? That's what the Scholarship of Teaching and Learning is intended to do. At my university, this is the definition that we use. We have a significant number of people who are working in the area. We have specific grants, so we provide money for people to hire grad students to work with them and give them course release. But the publishing and presenting of scholarly inquiry into teaching, extending ongoing improvement of teaching. So how can I leverage what I do in my classroom to other universities, to other people in my discipline, so that they can do a better job of teaching? And the best thing about this, or one of the top reasons to do this, is it engages students in the research process. At USask, we actually have undergraduate research, a lot of undergraduate research. So rather than just have students come and take classes, we make them partners in what's going on. So we could make them partners in our regular research, for example, or we can also bring them into the work that we're doing in terms of reviewing our teaching. Really exciting because it gets people engaged. It makes them think differently about their learning. They become less passive and more a part of what's going on, and their voice is heard. A simple research project in the Scholarship of Teaching and Learning can be surveying your students to see what they liked or didn't like in a particular course. What was the easiest way for you to learn this material? And then publishing and sharing it. And for some people, that is a really nice change from what they've done in other parts of their research world. So some of the reasons why this is important, and it is emerging globally, but it is really strong in some countries, especially in the humanities and in the fields of education. So what it means is that the work you're doing and your classroom practice has value. And as we try to professionalize more and more of the teaching, as opposed to just having you learn it as you go through, this means that there is a body of knowledge that is developing. There is this understanding that SOTL is its own field or discipline, whichever word you feel most comfortable with. So you can go to it and you can look for examples of how teaching is improved in one area, and maybe that allows you to transfer it to your area, for example. The same way we look at, say, medical research, and is there a transfer into vet med research for some of the things that are going on? Different patients, but maybe some opportunities. SOTL is the same thing. It is universal in terms of what can come out of it and how you might apply it. The idea of bringing together like-minded individuals. I have, in my work in the field, have come across a lot of folks that don't always feel that they belong in their department because of the research they're doing. And they are maybe half-heartedly working on research that is related to their discipline, but they would really like to look at teaching. And this gives them an avenue to find those other people, maybe find their tribe that doesn't exist where they are, and get together with folks. So I've seen that many times where people have come from, engineering, medicine, those types of science, and come together with other people in the humanities and feel like, wait a minute, this is where I belong. This is where I think that I can make the biggest contributions. It doesn't mean everyone is going to abandon their bench research or the other work that they're doing, but it is another way to feel like you belong and to grow as an academic.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
In the data, this says that after you chose your passion, you really rose to very high.
Is there data that?
In the data which is supporting this validity, like if you are an engineer,
Yes.
later on you wanted that I wanted to be a humanitarian or I should be in humanities.
Yes.
So that they rose very high in humanities after this.
After changing,
After
shifting to the.
I don't know. You mean from a research perspective? Like, is there?
yes, from a research perspective.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah. I mean, I know anecdotally, I don't have the evidence in front of me right now, but wouldn't that be a great research study right there? There you go. You have already just chosen your first SOTL research study. Do people who move into other disciplines have the same level of success in their teaching, for example? I think you should come sit in the chair. and
There
I'll
was a
sit here. That's
professor,
good. Yes.
Dr.
very
R.K.
good.
Guha.
Style you
No.
told.
Oh, no, this is good. What it also does is it helps us learn in areas we may not have time to properly research. So we just do teaching.
You heard of IITs? They are called MITs of India, Indian Institute of Technology. They're a very prestigious engineering institute in India,
Mhm.
top 5 and top 50 in the world. So there was a professor there, Dr. R.K. Guha.
Mhm.
He was IIT topper, all India IIT topper, which is a big thing in India.
Mhm.
And then he did not find his place. He said, I don't belong here. Then his son took admission. There was at that time medical entrance exam, PMT, pre-medical test.
Okay.
So his son got into a very prestigious medical institute, AIMS.
Yeah.
Dr. Guha also took the same test, and both father and son did MBBS together after doing engineering.
Wow.
So that's
Yeah.
an example, but data-wise, I can't say.
Yeah.
But Dr. R.K. Guha, he did MBBS with his son.
I'm agreeing with you, but there is a modification in my question.
Yeah.
Cracking an exam and doing the degree is different.
No, he was very, he became a doctor, lifelong doctor after that.
And what is the success like Dr. Taryan you indicated? I have never heard Dr. Guha.
Hmm.
I'm asking of that success, like you are
No, he-
hitting that ball.
Till the end, he practiced medicine.
Outcome.
Yeah.
Till the end, he practiced
Yeah.
medicine.
ठीक है sir.
But I'm curious to that. So I'm going to take your question away and I'm going to see if I can find some actual data.
Some baseline.
Because he was never satisfied with IITs.
You will never be satisfied with anything, sir.
No. He was satisfied with medical
This is
profession.
my view.
Probably you should go into psychology.
Good.
Can be.
That might be your next career.
Perfect also.
So you can see on the list other reasons. The findings are applicable to a range of practice. As I mentioned, you may find something about teaching in vet med that applies to other places, other disciplines. And I've also mentioned that it engages our students. So it's a way of them starting to think of themselves as not just receivers, but engaged in this research process. Some of the challenges, different disciplines value SOTL differently. So hard sciences want hard science, and it's really tough for people to find that value, and especially if they're going for tenure or promotion, to say that the scholarship of teaching and learning is real research. Some people don't see it as real research. It's very soft. It's very qualitative. It is very case-based, and there's still arguments in terms of what is real research, subjective versus objective research. In many universities, SOTL is not recognized. I will say that most of my program of research focuses on teaching and learning. So I have done a lot of research in the area. The first time I went forward for full professor, even though I was internationally recognized in that field, they said, Dr. Wilson is internationally recognized as a SOTL scholar, but we do not feel that his research is real research. So I had to appeal a second time before I became full professor because I didn't want to do hard research. I don't do hard research in the humanities. I do research on teaching and work with people. And I sent in lists of all the citations and places I had published and internationally and everything, and made it my goal to break through that wall because I wanted other people who are interested in studying this not to think that their academic careers would be a dead end. So I worked really hard, and of course I was able to reach full professor afterwards. But the committee would say one thing: we recognize him as an important global scholar, but we don't think he meets our standards. If I was an important global scholar, bless you, and I had was working in a lab that was making a virus or working with a virus or making a vaccine, I would have no problem. But because my lab were classrooms and teachers, people had a problem with that. It took me a long time to, 2 years, but still long enough, very frustrating. There's still a basic lack of understanding in terms of how to do the scholarship of teaching and learning, and that's where we're here today. And it really depends on, because it's kind of in its nascent stages, it depends on researchers to create their own community. So you may be the only one in your department or area who's interested in doing this. So you have to make those connections to build the teams that you work on. So how would you get started? So if this is something that you're interested in pursuing, you need to start becoming familiar with the organization. So there are organizations out there that do this. Many conferences have SIGs or special interest groups. So when you go to a conference, they might have a teaching group of passionate people who are interested in it, not just talking about your particular area, but the teaching in that area. And that's a lot of times where these start from. They're more of a grassroots type of organization. There is a growing body of literature on the scholarship of teaching and learning. You may just want to ask around and see if there are people that you don't know, or haven't connected with, that are in your locality that may be interested in being a part of it. So there's a lot of emphasis on your part to try to create that community and find out what's going on, because it's not as, you can't just go to those major national conferences all the time and learn about it. You have to turn over a few rocks. These are some of the organizations that I'm familiar with and that I've published with. The ISOTL is the International Society for the Scholarship of Teaching and Learning. It brings together people from every walk of life and discipline from around the world. It's a very difficult conference to get a paper into. I've been lucky a couple of times, but it is a good one to attend. And it's also always in really cool locations. So beautiful parts of the world, which we know is always a reason to go to a conference. But this one in particular, because it is so globally focused, it's an opportunity to see different parts of the world. There's the Canadian Society for the Scholarship of Teaching and Learning. They have a conference. They have a journal as well, published in that journal. There is a place called the SOTL Commons, the Scholarship of Teaching and Learning Commons. It's a web presence, and it's also kind of a clearinghouse for information. They also have a conference and a journal. So those are some of the key ones that, if you're not familiar with them, would be a good place to start off with in terms of looking. I'm not sure, for those of you who have your regular conferences that maybe you attend, have you had those teaching and learning parts of the program or small groups? Rajneesh is shaking his head. No, not. Okay.
In conferences?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have that lab done here.
Okay. But do they, so they talk about teaching?
No.
They talk about the
Not
teaching?
about
No.
teaching, like
Okay.
only up for the section.
Okay.
The other sections are there, like in surgery conferences, surgery section is there.
Yeah.
Small animal section, large animal section, radiology section, equine section, avian and exotic animal section, like that.
Yeah.
And there is one lead paper is there, so they give us the latest development in that particular.
But no discussion of teaching.
I think in extension,
Yeah.
they have one session
Okay.
focused on this veterinary education.
Okay.
I think Society for Swahi is the society.
Okay.
I think in their conference, they have one session on this.
So that might be
Might be best.
Yeah.
I have attended only one conference, so cannot comment in more detail. But I think they have.
that's very helpful. It's good to know what's out there and maybe what's lacking. But these other conferences, even to go to their websites and just to see what's available, they will often publish the papers there. And so you have the opportunity to see the kind of research that people are engaged in and have a better sense of. I thought, I could print off a whole bunch of articles and give them to you, but I'm like, well, maybe I'll just email them later and you can look at them at your leisure. The theory behind it. So there is theory behind the scholarship of teaching and learning. It is established theory. So it is, despite the fact that not everybody agrees with it, it is there. It has a 25 plus year history of recognition, but it is also emerging. So there is a lot of growth, a lot of opportunity to add to that. It is essentially part of good research of any kind. So if you are doing other research, discipline-specific research, the teaching part can be a component of it. You're able to integrate it into what you're doing. There are plenty of opportunities for you to contribute. And as you mentioned, if there's just maybe one of your conferences that are talking about it, then this might be a great avenue for you to start to grow that in the field of veterinary medicine, for example. Some of the key papers that you should be aware of if you're interested in this, Ernest Boyer, Scholarship Reconsidered, Priorities of Professorship. that was a really seminal piece in terms of what are we doing and how are we continuing to be developing, growing as teaching professionals. The Peter Felton article from 2013, Principles of Good Practice in the Scholarship of Teaching and Learning, is also a really good one. I have the PDF of it here, so I can send it around to you. All of these are, bless you, really good ways of easing yourself into the understanding. They're very basic. They're very much the why we do it and examples of what other people have done. So you're not having to spend hours and hours and months trying to get up to speed. These are quite good, and they allow you to get an understanding of the broader concept. Part of what else has come out of the theory is a framework that allows us to look at research and determine whether or not it fits with the Scholarship of Teaching and Learning. And I missed a comma in front of the "and." It drives me crazy. If this was a grad student paper, I'd be like putting a comma in there. Sorry. So in 1997, Glassig-Huber and Maroff developed a 6-stage framework. So it allows us to determine whether or not we are actually following the protocols of the Scholarship of Teaching and Learning and being successful. And that's what they are. So are you starting off with clear goals, which we always do when we are trying to do research? We want to know where we're headed. Are we prepared? Do we understand methodologies that we need? If it is primarily qualitative, have we done qualitative research before? Do we know how to run a focus group or do the survey work? What's coming out of it? So if our paper has significant results presented effectively, then we are on our way to creating a solid example of the Scholarship of Teaching and Learning. And it's really important to have that reflective critique involved as well about what's happening. So it's not just, here's my practice, but what is it doing? How is it impacting? If it's a positive thing, in what ways is it positive? Are there gaps? This breaks things down in terms of using a rubric to measure. So based on those 6 goals, is your research actually effective? And this can be a really good way of reviewing any type of paper, but it's right now specific to the Scholarship of Teaching and Learning. So if you're just getting into this, maybe you're on the threshold, you're just learning the basics. And as you move through, you might see growth in the papers you do, or you might use this as a way of revising a particular paper that you're working on. So something to take a while to use in the future. This is something that in my situation, I actually have some really strong people at our Teaching and Learning Center at USask, and their sole focus in their job is to help people be better teachers. We also have a center or school for the Scholarship of Teaching and Learning that promotes by doing workshops and brings people together. So if someone is interested, I talked about having to do a lot of that legwork yourself, at our center, you can simply show up and say, help, and they will provide you with the tools you need, with grants, with access to grad students. And it's really, really handy in terms of something you want to get started. We have done our best to try to put SOTL on the map in our university so that everybody is aware of it. We received a $2 million donation, which allowed us to really fund and bring people in. That kind of money is very helpful because researchers are always looking for funds to get going. So that was a really big boost to what's going on. And then we have regular symposia, for example, where we bring together as many as 100 faculty on our campus to talk about what they're doing, bringing in some key speakers. And there's another one in May 9th and 10th at the University of Saskatchewan, where we are continuing to get people on board and to help them as early career researchers in terms of their understanding and application of SOTL. Okay. So I'm just wondering if you are aware of any type of Scholarship of Teaching and Learning, if you've ever read a paper about teaching practices, based on my early assessment, I'm not going to put you in groups because it looks like no one has heard of it before or engaged in it before. Again, nothing wrong with that, but I do think it opens up an opportunity for you to start reflecting on your practice differently. So I see some sheepish smiles. Don't worry about it. That's great. And there are many, many disciplines and colleges and universities that have no concept of what this is, what they're doing. So I'm giving you that boost. So #1 university in India, #1 vet school in India, #1 scholarship of teaching and learning in India. Look at that. You're just on fire, ahead of the game, maybe. That is a random slide of me working with some students. So that's one of my classrooms. Beautiful. I call it a palate cleanser.
You call it a?
It's a palate cleanser. It means nothing. It just kind of wipes the slate clean, gets you focused on something different, breaks up the instruction. Those are all students from Beijing, China, and they came to the University of Saskatchewan for 2 months, and they took a class from me. And there we go. So if you haven't done any scholarship of teaching and learning, what can you do to get started? Well, Jay, good question. These are some of the questions you want to ask yourselves or ask other people that you're working with. So do you have a research topic that's focused on teaching and learning? Is there something about the sequencing of your program? Is there something about the way that you prepare materials for your courses that you would like to do differently? I think of your example of PowerPoint. Are your PowerPoint slides effective? Do your students feel that they're helpful?
I'll rate them 4 out of 10.
Yes.
At the present.
4 out of 10? Okay. So you may want to engage in a research project that asks students for feedback to get it up to a 5 or a 6, or depending on what you would like to do. Are there people that you already collaborate with or people that you would like to collaborate with? You have all been joking to each other about how great a teacher the other person is, but would it be good to work with another teacher to talk about what you do in your classroom? Or I heard that you did something really interesting the other day. Can you tell me about it? I think we should write this up because I would like to share that great practice that you do with a larger audience. I think that there are opportunities if you want to go to conferences that are very different. So if you don't want to go to conferences that talk about the traditional type of research that you all do and is valuable, but you'd like to meet with other people whose passion is around teaching and learning, well, maybe this is an opportunity for you to apply to one of those conferences to share a presentation. It doesn't have to be a paper. It could be 7 out of 10 PowerPoint presentation talking about what you do at your particular class or what you have done to change your classes over time. I think it would be really fascinating to have people from this university go to those conferences because I don't think there would be very many people at all in the veterinary medicine. I think you would kind of be the new kids on the block that would rock those types of conferences. Do you have a plan that is led by faculty? So we did curriculum mapping today, which is led by the dean, top down, kind of, although you've been consulted in that process. But if you're doing scholarship of teaching and learning, oftentimes it comes from your level. It's not the dean telling you what to do. It's something that you're interested in. And that can really be an interesting way of following a passion that you have. Is it something that matters to you? Do you see your students struggling and go, darn, I wish I could do something a little bit different so they could be more successful? Those are the seeds where your scholarship of teaching and learning can come from. And there's different ways you can do it. You can work as an individual. Hey, there's me again. Yeah. I have done research on my own practice, just me, just something that I'm interested in, and absolutely something that either has always bothered me about what happens in my class and want to investigate it further. That's just my own thing. I don't have to worry about anybody else. Maybe there are things that I'm doing that I feel really good about, but I want to put into a field that other people can see it. So you can work at it as an individual. You can also be part of a team. And so the people that are in this video or in these images, so there's me, of course. These two at the top, they work at our School of Business. And we wanted to determine which one is that? Is that emotional? Oh, creating a safe and effective culture in the classroom. So what were we doing in our different areas to make students feel that they could talk, that they could be open, that they could be safe? And that was one of the papers that we delivered. Completely different colleges that never worked together, like education and business, rarely work together. But we were able to do that. We focused on a specific thing that we were all interested in. And then we were able to, because we had multiple perspectives, we would say, well, students in a business school like this, students in an education college like this. And it was really a great synergy. The picture at the bottom is me with one of my research partners, and he works in soil sciences. So education and soil sciences. And he and I have presented many, many times together around experiential learning, which is something that we're interested in. We have a nationally funded research team that is looking at assessment and experiential learning. He deals with soil. He goes out into the field all the time and works with his students on the land. I work with my students sometimes in the land, sometimes in the classroom. But we wanted to know, how do we figure out if our assessments and our evaluations are working? So we have, for about 10 years now, worked together to try to learn from one another and try to learn from our disciplines. Some things are very different. Bless you. Some things are very much the same. And that is part of the thrill of doing this kind of work, is working as a team. Or you can work between institutions. So you may have people at other universities who are teaching veterinary medicine, for example, and you have the same concerns. Maybe you meet up with a colleague or a friend, you know, and they say, this isn't working. And you would say, oh, that's not working for me either. We should get together and look at this and talk about it. And it's amazing what happens when things come together. When you have larger groups, you have access to more funding as well. Often funding agencies want to give money to 2 universities working on a project as opposed to just one university working on a project. The other thing is that you have that ability to socialize the knowledge and take it from VSU, for example, and take it to another university or another vet college that builds those research connections. The sign that you see on the side there was one I used to walk by it on my way to work, and somebody just had it in their front room, and it had, that is just a spot in Saskatoon, and they have all these, the location to all these different parts of the world, including the city with the longest name ever at the top.
What's that?
I can't pronounce it, but I think it is somewhere in the Arctic or Finland or something like that. It's a very long name.
The biggest word is in medical profession.
Yes. That's the biggest
No.
name of a town, though.
Okay.
Or a city, yeah. I think Mumbai is on there. Yes, good. Other parts of the world, Toowoomba, that's where I went to. I find that kind of interesting because that's where my doctorate is from, Toowoomba. And no one has ever heard of Toowoomba. And I was walking by the sign one day. It's near Brisbane in Australia, but nobody knows where that is. Anyway, I thought this is really interesting, so I took a picture of it. But there's all the different institutions that could possibly come together to collaborate. Maybe I'll go by and I'll nail Ludhiana on the bottom of that and figure out the distance from that particular location. So if it's time to do something, so I want to give you a chance to reflect on something that you may be doing in your practice that you would like to do differently. So with a pen and paper or however you want to do it, just think about one thing in your practice specific to teaching that you might want to change. And then write it down.
Done.
So again, choose something in your instructional practice that you would like to examine further.
That's all, Dr. Mudit. I sent you something.
That is not working.
No, it's working.
It is working.
It's working.
It will start. His isn't working.
Dr. Koha, look,
That will start up.
he is Padam Shri.
12 में चलता कुछ डिस्ट्रिक्ट में चलना अध्ययन चल पड़ा अध्ययन नहीं
Write down what it is, what you want to improve, right?
Previous slide. Previous one.
Staying in the instructional practice. I should think about the deeper look.
Hello, Kushir, Dr. Kushir. What's that? No.
बाद जो देखा है.
Oh, very good.
That handout, like you gave really.
Oh, okay. You have them all still?
I don't have. I am only guessing it. I'll just take-
So if you have a,
Android.
yeah.
Then I'll file them and just below by the line, like,
Dr. Seti is, I'll call it Ethan. Be done by.
Desktop while you.
वो इन्होंने आ वाला वरत्या ना भाजी.
Desktop ਕਿਹੜਾ ਵਾਲਾ ਕਿੰਨੇ ਪਏ ਆ?
ਉਹ ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ
Maybe call it now.
ਘਟ ਜਾਣੀ ਹੈ.
Section.
Gonna work? Come on, been working so well. Oh, there you go. I want you to add to it. And I want you to tell me what about that issue you want to explore. So something that troubles you. Now I want you to think about what about it you want to explore. And I'll give you 37 seconds to
What
answer that question.
about it do you want to explore?
Yes, and
What about it?
and that's the it. The thing in your instructional practice that you wish to examine.
Hmm.
And so you've identified something, maybe it is teaching one thing. Now, what about it that you want to explore? What do you want to learn more about? So you're refining your question. And depending on how you answer the first question, maybe it doesn't need a whole lot of refining, maybe it does. Five, four,
ਉਹਨੂੰ ਸਹੀ ਕਰ ਦੋ.
3.5, 2.75, 1.25. And you can keep it.
He's always ahead.
Yes, always ahead of the game. That's tomorrow's work. All right. What you should have written down in front of you somewhere or beside you is a wonder or a question or a query or a concern, whatever type of label you want to apply to it, that's related to your practice. So in the example that I gave earlier about experiential learning, I want to learn more about assessment in experiential learning. So that would have been my answer to the first question that I would have written down. And what about it that I want to explore is, are people who are doing field work able to really demonstrate their knowledge? Because when they go out and do experiential learning, they often have fun, and it's not like being in a classroom, and they have the opportunity to engage in a real life context, but are they learning? So the work that I do in my research is I am trying to figure out, is there a match between the assessment and evaluation tools we use? If someone is in the field looking at soils, should they write an essay? Should they show me a handful of dirt and talk about it? Should they do a presentation? That's an example of my work in the Scholarship of Teaching and Learning in terms of how I started with a question and then what about it I wanted to explore. And if you think about how that's unpacked, it may be looking at process. So I may be interested in the assessment process, for example, or I may have a question about, do my students have enough knowledge to be able to successfully do a task? Is the content there? Am I teaching them the right material? So that might be what my question becomes, right? Do I want to do that qualitatively? Do I want it quantitatively? So it's the idea of moving from an idea and developing a good research question that focuses on teaching. So if I go back to what I want to explore, is someone willing to share their revised question or their answer to the first question and then the second one in terms of what they might be interested in looking at in their practice? Or whatever you have.
Okay,
I would keep.
I don't know. I have read to the again course fear which you are telling, but
Be brave. We trust you.
that is not there. So, like in our subject, the content is too much voluminous.
Okay.
And fortunately or unfortunately, I take the introductory classes. So in that there are lots of definition. So previously what we were doing, we were trying to give as many definitions, examples to understand those definitions. But with time and talking with our seniors, persons from another institutes, looking at the name, course content of the other institutes. So now we have tried to minimize the examples. So just simple words, keep the information simple and crisp at the undergraduate level and in easy language. So this is the first one. And second thing we missed is the should be the more practical impact. Like now I have told you that there is a group veterinary clinical knowledge, so they are sharing those pictures. So I take them, try to put them so that what are the parasitic diseases in the field, and differential diagnosis is the one we miss. So from next time trying to add some more about that. So more importance on clinical science and life cycle and control as compared to treatment, because I think treatment will be covered much more effectively by the medicine persons.
Perfect. Excellent. So you are looking at a whole bunch of this. You're looking at content,
Yeah.
and the process to deliver it. So you might ask students who have previously been in the class what they would change. And you could write that up, you could interview them, you could do a focus group and publish that to say, if you are teaching this work, and you also have the engagement of other colleagues, you said you've gone to other universities to ask them as
Yeah,
well.
because in for our
Perfect.
past universities, there the notes are there, and some of the information is excellent. And the PowerPoint which I am making, so I at least follow 5 books.
Yeah.
Though you said that information should be less, but we have external system. We don't want that some point should be missed. So even if one book gives you one good piece of information, that is worth it. Like there is a book called Parasitic Diseases of Animals by Kaufman. written in 1985, but still the information is excellent.
Good.
The Soulsby book is there, Bhatia book is there. So try to taking what's the best chapter was there in that book and trying to make notes from that.
So there's an example of you reflecting on what happens in your classroom and wanting to know more about it. I see an opportunity to partner with other colleagues as well. So you can have that interinstitutional engagement. And so you're well on your way to
So we do
create
it.
a
Our
research question.
sister college is there in Rampura, Phul Bathinda. So I'll ask my juniors. Mr. Khalsa College is there. So ask them also. They teach and they also do the same thing. Means it's there, but you can say we cannot define it because we are teaching professionally.
Yes.
So the exact keywords are not there with us. So we are doing the things, but under which head we are doing, at least for me, it's still unclear.
But that would be that inquiry and that concern you
Why
have.
do we do? We do from our advisors that I stuck at this point. So
It's good.
yesterday I gave you example of antigenic variation. So that is still practical.
Another example that people would like to share?
Pre and, so I wish I do some pre and post lecture or class or course assessment.
Okay.
If I'm teaching them this course, how much they are getting means, and it will kind of self-assessment too, as well as what they are doing in the class.
Perfect.
Secondly, to make it more practical, as we usually, for example, if I'm teaching brucellosis and we are done with the lecture, we have to give them some examples in the field. Okay, if you are doing vaccination and somehow those vaccines splash to your eyes, what to do? And
Yeah.
because that's a live vaccine, what to do in case, yes, something like that, rather than teaching them, this is prevention and control,
Mhm.
so on. To give them some examples, real life examples. So, and make it more audio visual presentations, videos more.
So there's two potential research questions as I see them. The first one is your process, and that's that reassessment. Trying to determine where your students are at when they come in to your class and to determine whether it's useful to them or to you or to other people who are teaching. So there's lots of opportunities to engage the students in that. And then the other one is content. Do you have enough safety information? And you could track, we call it occupational health and safety. I don't know if you call it that in India or not, but instances where people do get virus splashed in their eyes. And so you can say, this is a concern. How would we change our
We have in our country
approach to that?
occupational hazard.
Yeah.
We have
Yeah.
in our country
Okay.
department for that.
Do you have one on campus?
Yeah, they got showers maybe in clinics.
Yes.
Supposing somebody gets exposed, he can immediately,
But you track the instances of it or? No, maybe not.
what?
Don't have that system.
You don't have a way of tracking to say last year, 2 students were
No.
injured. and-
Sir, there are many cases in clinics where students accidentally get bitten by dogs during treatment. So we have vaccines for that, so we get them vaccinated
Yeah.
from
Babies.
our college itself.
Yeah. Okay.
Or from college side itself. That cost is borne by college.
Yeah.
We have a pack of vaccines with us over there in the clinics. And if any such incident occurs, so they report that I am bitten by a dog, and then we get it vaccinated.
So you might, there's another research project, safety protocols. Maybe the two of you can work together because you've got different safety concerns. One might be virus related, one might be animal related.
Yeah.
And
And you see, the biggest example in the last 5 years, I would say, is this corona outbreak, pandemic. It leaked out of a lab in Wuhan.
yes.
So had these safety protocols in place, it would never happen.
Mhm.
Maybe they deliberately did it. I
Yeah,
don't know.
I'm not going to say that on a recording. So yeah.
Huh?
No, they will edit it.
Yes. We'll
But
find
that is
out.
also an occupational hazard.
That is a form of bioterror.
Yes. Other,
But it could
okay,
happen
before we talk
accidentally.
about COVID-19, this is going to take, so other questions? You had yours done right away. What was your question?
Oh.
You were pushing it across the desk, so I'm curious.
It's done now. I want, theory coupled with practical or clinical. That's all I have been saying right
Yeah.
through.
Okay, so you would ask the students which practical or clinical
Yeah, I would
techniques
ask,
work best?
I would ask them to come with me to clinics.
Yep.
Or, as you said, ask them what works best for you.
Good, so maybe a qualitative approach where you would interview them and generate your data that way. So take them on these experiences and then write that paper up based on
Yeah,
their
it's
responses.
subjective, yeah.
Good. Sure. You turned your chair, so I assumed you had something to share.
So okay.
Yeah, do you have one?
He gave the biggest suggestion of the day, I would say.
Yes.
Biggest suggestion I have not given.
BVSC, yeah.
That was my second biggest.
Yeah.
What are the biggest?
It's coming.
It's coming.
Oh,
Get ready, guys.
sounds like a showstopper.
You missed all the fun in the morning.
Showstopper.
You missed it. You missed it.
Probably being from the surgery department, because I'm passionate for surgery. Okay, so that's why I always think 90% of my time is thinking about the surgery, thinking about my patient. So we have a variety of patients from 2 kg dog to 70 kg dog. Okay, and if you go to the anatomy and the size of the bones, the size of the all viscera and all, so there is a variety is there. So probably in the market, the surgical devices or the implants or whatever we use in the surgery, they are limited. And you can't customize because whatever is there in the market, you have to use it. So I wish we should have some collaboration with my biomedical engineer who can customize the implants according to our requirements.
Yeah.
So probably there is, because of those customization, lack of customization, complication happens. And probably we can improve better, our complication can be minimum. But if once we can have something from biomedical or there is one 3D printing is there.
I was going to say, it sounds like a 3D printing
3D
thing, right?
printing is
No,
there.
absolutely, yeah.
At least we should have a collaboration with those departments which have a 3D printing, and we send them our requirement and they give us customized implant according to that requirement. So accordingly, and sometimes we have a dead end. We can't perform, we have idea, we have some idea, but ultimately that idea is not realized because of the lack of the facility. So probably that may be the field which we might have to.
It's great. Yeah. So that's a teaching problem.
Yeah.
That's a great teaching problem. It's an opportunity to partner. You've already got some ideas about how you might solve it. So you have a hypothesis even that you can test to see if creating custom replacement parts is going to work to minimize the complication. I'm thinking of like hip sockets and things like that, right?
So I'm
Joints
working on
and
that.
bones.
Like,
Yeah.
probably I have started a collaboration with a national institute.
Yeah.
Chandigarh is there. So at Chandigarh, so probably they are working, but the problem is, though engineers, they don't have the idea about the veterinary science. So I have to teach them a lot. And I don't have any idea about their field, but still probably one time we will come to the same frequency, and I'm waiting for that.
That's fantastic. That sounds like the rest of them. That's a true SOTL project.
Yeah.
That's the scholarship of teaching and learning and the ability to improve what's going on. And once you had an answer, or if you wrote a paper about that, people around the world would read that and be interested and see you would impact practice. All of you would do that in the things that you're suggesting. That's just so if I go back to my pre-assessment and people are like, I don't know, you all have good ideas. You're all sharing things that have a place in this field and make important contributions, allow those wonderful people sitting against the wall to be more successful, and then to go out into their clinics. So again, the idea of if they don't know, this is where you teach them. So we don't have lab leaks. So we don't have those other things. We have researchers, we have students who graduate and understand the way that technology can work and the way that they can be better at their practice. Exciting. Do people, so if I do my post-assessment, do people have a better sense of what the scholarship of teaching and learning is now? How you might engage in it? Yeah. Good. Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe.
So why the?
You were looking left and right, so I was.
Yes, I'm thinking why the scholarship is attributed. Is it not a review?
Oh, it's reviewed, yes.
Why is this scholarship? I think in India, when you say some scholarship, no, it has approved
Money.
outcome.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, I see what you mean. That kind of, so the scholarship of being like a gift given to someone.
Yes.
As opposed to scholarship being like research, the same, that's the definition. So it could be called action research. Sometimes people refer to the scholarship of teaching and learning as action research. But then there isn't that specific teaching and learning component to it. So that's why they've gone with SOTL.
Okay.
But that's a good question. And you may enter into dialogue with people and they are talking about, oh, well, I do action research. But when you peel back all the layers, it's like, oh, well, you're doing the scholarship of teaching and learning. It's, for many people, it's the same thing. Good question. The use of the word scholarship is the attempt to legitimize it as an actual field of research. So that's why they use a big word like that.
You
That's
must
it.
have come across stray dogs on the campus, right?
Yeah, they're growing them. They plant them in the field.
So
We
many
see
of-
them every morning by where the
Postmortem.
abattoir is or your postmortem.
Yeah, postmortem, yeah.
Yeah.
So they have got some psychiatric problems also. Sometimes they are chasing your car. That is called car chasing syndrome.
Yeah, I saw it
Sometimes-
this morning on my walk when I was in one of the neighborhoods and they were chasing, a vehicle went by me at about 100 miles an hour, yapping and yapping.
Yeah, so that's a psychiatric problem.
Huh.
You were saying that, hyperfiring convulsion, that is not in your control, but psychiatric thing that is in your control, that is, you can give different set of medicines. Like we have got like obsessive diseases, obsessive compulsive disease, OCDs, like they keep on chewing on their, tails.
Yeah.
Or they keep on licking, acral lick dermatitis they
seen that.
cause. They just,
They
some
lick
people,
themselves, like all their
some
hair and
people,
fur off. Yeah.
huh?
They lick their fur right off
Yeah,
themselves. Yeah.
so that is also a psycho problem. Some people, just human beings, keep on washing their hands.
Yes.
That is also OCD. So I wish we could have better drugs for the disorders in animals, because whatever we are doing till now is just extrapolating from human medicine. I'm giving them amitriptyline or Lonazep, or I'm giving them, say, salicyline, whatever. They are all human medications used in psychological disorders. So I wish we could have some research focused mainly from veterinary point of view, because we do come across, I've seen even dogs eating their own pups. Cannibalism.
Canine cannibalism.
Yeah. So we could have a research area in that also, neuropharmacology.
Yep.
Neuropharmacology.
Yeah, absolutely. And you would involve your students in that. They could do your clinical trials and you can
Exactly.
find out what was going on. Yep.
Doctor level.
Now that's kind of on the periphery of teaching and learning. So once you found out what those drugs were, you'd want to talk about the best way to teach your students the
Yeah.
difference, for example.
Exactly.
How does that fit its way into what you do in the classroom? And
Yep.
you may show a slide or a movie of someone washing their hands repeatedly and a dog doing the same thing, and then talking about how those are similar behaviors. But like we talk about the shotgun approach, right? If a drug works with people, well, then let's just try with animals. Let's not test it. and
It's
see
just
what's going on.
hit and try.
Yeah.
So all these behavior modifying drugs we need to work upon. Because in India also, in your country, like they have got urine spraying problem. The pet animals, cat you are keeping, it keeps on spraying urine everywhere. Or there are, say, fireworks, it just gets under the sofa. That's also a behavior problem. Nothing is going to happen. So we have got, huge amount of work to be done in the area of behavior modifying drugs in animals.
Yes. See, the future is bright.
So
Lot of
humans, whatever drugs they are using, I think they are first experimenting on animals, lower species.
They are experimenting in experimental animals like rat or mice.
So that from
monkeys.
that we can take a lead, that we can also from veterinary point of view.
You see, it's such a paranoia. Every research is done in animals, experimental animals. It goes to humans and then back to veterinary practice. Directly, there's no veterinary company which is making, say, exclusively for veterinary, and because they are just extrapolating from human practice.
So they should go from animals to animals
Correct.
without the deep
Right,
to humans.
right.
There is a wide variety in animals. The problem is that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So we need a lot of work to be done in
At the genetic level as
Behavior model.
at the
We
physiological
have
level.
researchers like you.
Mm.
That's
Good research.
Yes. Yeah. And there's no money to be made on
Yeah,
pets,
that's the-
right?
that's the
There's
main
lots of money
thing.
to be made on humans.
Humans.
Yeah, less money is involved in, animal drugs, so they like to do research on human drugs only.
Okay, good conversation. So now, after today, you can impress people. Cocktail party stuff, you can go into a room and start talking about the scholarship of teaching and learning and your innovative teaching and learning practices. You're aware of some of the key literature, and as I mentioned, I'll get a couple of those readings in your hands so that you can explore it further. You now know that there are other opportunities to present and share. So if you've always gone to the same conferences and you wish that someone was talking about teaching, well, now you know that there are other conferences that you could go to where people are actually talking about teaching and learning and have the chance to learn from other people as well. The idea of how to get started, I mean, that was just a basic research problem exercise that we did. We may have done it previously, but it was just intended to be focused on teaching and learning and what you're doing in your classroom with your students, with your materials, for example, process, where there are gaps. And it's really great to see all of you being able to identify things that bother you, things that you wish were different or better about the teaching that you do. And that's how we make change. We do that systematic research in those areas. And now you've got some options. Really nothing's being forced upon you, but now you have the opportunity to think about the research that you do. Does it fit into another category? Is there a gap or an opportunity for me to explore funding? So I'm not having to compete with people in one area, but maybe there's less competition in the area of scholarship of teaching and learning to get funding, to bring my undergraduate or graduate students into that research, not just for their own work as they finish their programs, but for the opportunity to help your work and to help the future generations of students that will be in your classroom.
Oh, great.
Golden temple.
The photograph is from a very good angle,
Yes.
but it is cloudy, I think.
It was a beautiful day for photos. It wasn't too bright.
Next.
So we've come to the end, and I thought, what better way to end our academy time and our session than
Divine.
to go to some very important place. I talked about the learning that I hoped you would take away, but I also am taking away a lot of learning and the opportunities to visit, to not just go to the scientist's house and have roti and then come back every day and then go back to sleep, but to see parts of India that
Culture.
people have taken me to, the opportunity to learn, to understand why you do what you do, to see the government in action in many different places and realize your frustrations, not just on this campus, but throughout, and to also be very excited about your desire for change, both curriculum change that you're working on, change in your practice so that your students can be better. The fact that you are here, that you gave up so much time when you were busy to be here with me was divine intervention on your behalf. And I very much appreciated getting to have students here. I'm very thankful that all of you have joined and that when given the opportunity that you participated. I'm also very grateful to all of you for being here. You are leaders on your campus. You are people who will be points of contact. You will be the change agents in the work that is going on. And you're the reason why this program is as successful as it is now and will continue to be successful. I'm also very grateful to Dr. Kieran for being here, taking lots of notes, being a person who is going to guide this process going forward, to be able to distill your passionate discussions into useful suggestions. And I especially want to thank Dr. Gushir, who has been my right-hand man who has taken me everywhere, who has listened to all my questions, who is helping me put together my Punjabi dictionary. He is Wadia, the ultimate Wadia. He is the good in this process.
Vadia.
He is Savad, and he has helped me in so much of this. And so I'm just very thankful to have visited with all of you, to spend time with you, to talk about teaching, which is my passion, and to be around people who are equally passionate and interested in what's going on. So that's the end. That's my dialogue, my diatribe at the end. You will have my contact information. Please follow up. I look forward to when you visit Saskatchewan, and I will extend the hospitality and show you all kinds of wonderful places at our campus and our community. And I'm very serious. I know that I'm here representing University of Calgary. I encourage you to go there as well, but I am from the University of Saskatchewan, and I believe that we have a very strong, vibrant veterinary medicine program. Some of your colleagues have been there. Some of your research partners work there, and I think it is helpful to visit other parts of the world to see what we can do, to learn, as well as to be confident in the work that you're doing. So please, if you have the opportunity to come to Saskatchewan, find me. And again, I just want to thank you all. Tanwad, from the bottom of my heart, for everything that we have done in this.
You're most welcome.
Yes.
Thank you.
There. Go enjoy your day. We're done. You have your afternoon off. You can go buy plants. You can make sure your students are doing okay. And
I have one here.
you may.
I'm youngest of all. I'm just in initial phase of my teaching career. So I want to ask that which of the two methods, conventional blackboard teaching or modern use of audio visual aids, PowerPoint presentation?
Both.
Which of them they are?
Both of them are required.
Yes, because
Variety is
what I found in last, this is my 4th year of teaching. So what I found as a feedback from students, they like more blackboard teaching from my subject.
Yeah.
From my subject. They like more blackboard teaching.
Everybody keeps on evolving. The first lecture I took was way back in 98, and it was on antiviral drugs. And there was a book, Goodman and Gilman. It's called Bible of Pharmacology. Huge book. I made lecture from that, and it was 23 pages. I didn't know what to. And then slowly and slowly, I just figured out what is important, what need, and now it is just 7 pages maybe. So you keep on evolving with time, I think.
But
Initially you may feel blackboard teaching, but then there are some things which you have to show, say videos you have to show. So for that, audio visual aids are required. So you will keep on improving, and that's a sign of growth. If you don't come across something new, I just came across a new drug this year, which I have never taught my previous batches, mirtazapine. So you have to keep on looking at newer. You'll keep on evolving as you go.
It actually depends on the learning outcome. So what do you actually want them to know? So if it is blackboard teaching serving the purpose, that's fine.
But sometimes you have to show
Definitely
videos.
something to add.
You have to
like
combine
video.
basically both.
You have to combine. There's no
The
rule.
simple answer is you have to combine.
see, look at all this wisdom in the room. You have so many people to help.
My second question is about providing notes or material to the students.
Yes.
I don't prefer to, I was a good notes maker. I used to write in class, then consulting book, then adding in that. Then what I am practicing, I'm not providing any notes to students. I'm not providing my PowerPoint presentation to whatever they are grasping from my class. That's it. They can come to me anytime. I will suggest anything what they want. I will tell them. If I don't know, then I learn. Then I ask from my seniors. I teach them. But some prefer to provide complete wholesale notes. They will give their PowerPoint presentation.
No.
They will give. They will make good inputs, and they will make a good notes in a Word file, PDF. Then they will provide like this. So which one is beneficial?
I give students everything. I give them
Giving notes is okay.
PowerPoint,
Ah.
whatever they need.
And self-study also.
And so that, yeah, so that they still pay attention. They still take good notes, but they also can read in advance to be ready. And they can do the review on their own as well afterwards. So if they print off the organizer, then they're like, oh, okay, and they can annotate or they can type on their laptop and.
Yes, it seems good that when you give something organized.
Yes,
But what I perceive that if you give them organized everything, they will see that majority of them, more than 95% of the student, they will see that it is only the final thing and this is the only thing that we have to do. They will not go out of that.
then it's your
That's
job to
why
push them. Yes.
Just to push them.
Yeah.
I don't to give my PowerPoint presentation. I don't provide them notes. I say them that you go read and come.
I provide the notes for the people who need them. And maybe you have students like yourself who are very good note takers. And even though you give them the notes, they never use them.
Then I
So,
come to the
yeah.
first day discussion of the difference in culture, difference in the mind of the difference in age group of the person that you are handling, we are handling. That's the difference. We are handling that student who are just from higher school. You are handling the students who are graduates, who are paying you a lot, and then they are demanding a lot. But here is that just come, read, get it, pass out. They will ask the things when they will need.
Yes.
Totally.
Otherwise,
See, I work with people right out of high school as well. So because I don't teach in the vet college, I teach 17, 18-year-old students as well who are,
okay.
and I just make that material available so that they can help themselves. But the best way to find out is to ask them, to say, is this helpful? Would you like this? And some people don't know the answer to that right off the bat, but over time, you are directing them to think about how they learn and what helps them.
Other thing that comes in my mind that we can provide them notes, but with many of the blanks.
Yes. Yes, like your final exam.
That's a good idea.
That is, no, actually, there is a curve.
Like, yeah.
5% student.
Earlier, तो मैंने भेजा
intelligent.
पढ़ लिया ना?
And 5% might not be listening to you
IIT
in the lecture all the times. So we should focus on those also, but the majority of the students will listen. And if they have, this was my perception also, not to give the notes, but giving them notes, some of them have books with them also. So when you give them pointers, okay, this is important, so they will read it. And some people are poor writers also.
Yeah.
They might miss some important piece of information, so they have to go to their peers and complete it. So giving notes, because we are not writing Bible, that it will come for the very first time. Everything, the literature is there, but nobody can read the Arthur and Noakes book of veterinary, though I read it. Dr. Prakash made us read it.
Actually, they're right. Students want cut and dried notes. So if they want, you can give them, but some of them are really good. They read books also. So both ways.
So they can add, this you can tell them in the theory class, but this comes when you mature, because then your receptors of adrenaline goes down and other receptors, they
upregulated.
Are the responses helpful? I think those are good questions, and I think it's good for you to feel that you can ask.
Viewpoint.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think fill in the blanks, that's a good idea.
And fill in the blanks, or some questions can be left there so that they can read.
At
You
least
can just tell them that these are just pointers, they are not complete notes, so you read the books also at your end.
That can.
That is there.
But I got from his point, he is focusing a larger population. I am focusing a smaller population. Small, that means the type of the population target.
It will always be there,
Yes.
whether it is research or
That point is okay.
That's why I told you, students with 6.5 to 7.5 GPA, they are the best veterinarians in the field.
So are they using?
And it's
as you
proven fact.
as you go through your career and move through the years, you will start to add, and you will start to have a better understanding and
Perceptions keep on changing. evolve.
Those are good questions, and this is what you want on your campus. You want people to come together and start talking about teaching
Discussion.
and asking questions and getting together and saying, what do you do in your class? Did you always do it that way? When did you change? And that's that important exchange of information where people are able to mentor younger faculty. Younger faculty ask really important questions that make experienced faculty
This
think
type
about
of
what
discussion that goes on within the department,
Yeah.
not
Note on.
other department, with other departments. Like we have head of the department, he is excellent teacher.
Mhm.
So I used to discuss with him.
Good.
I used to attend the practical class he is taking, so that I learn how he is teaching. In that ranking that was discussed, that ranking was done by Dean. In that ranking, he was number one in
Wow.
complete college.
That's good. That's a good person to learn from, right?
He is,
So you're staying for 2 days more for the farmers fair?
I'm not.
You should.
I wish I was. That'll be when I come back.
so crispy.
Yes, yeah, it'd be so.
Okay,
That when I come back, I have to do DOSA because I'm gonna run out of time and I'm gonna have to come back for the fair.
are they using robotics in animal husbandry in
I do not know.
Saskatchewan?
That's a question for you. You can find out and tell us.
Okay, no, I think you should.
No, but I don't want to rob you of the satisfaction of finding out.
Please rob me.
Yes,
No, because the herd size in your country is huge, maybe 5,000 animals, 6,000 animals. So the labor shortage is there. So like he's from gynecology, sometimes they miss when the animals come in heat,
yes.
stress. So you don't want to do that because that, takes you behind. So sometimes they have got sensors, they have got chips placed in animals, which can send vibrations or signals to router, and then the farmer can come to know, okay, that cow is in heat.
They are using artificial.
They must be- some
अपने भी करते
here also in India also because they started using that.
Okay, robotics.
These are the AI devices actually, artificial intelligence. devices.
Okay, and robotics.
Entirely possible.
robotics.
I don't know.
I think.
Good question.
I think.
Because the larger
See,
the herd,
if you come visit Saskatchewan, you can find out. Just come in the summertime.
Just search on net.
Yes.
Internet पे देता ना.
practical,
सर मेरे हिसाब से नहीं था।
हाँ जी।
क्योंकि वहाँ पे हर्ड साइज था 5,000 एनिमल, 10,000 एनिमल, वहाँ पे लेबर तो है नहीं, तो रोबोटिक्स बहुत बड़ा रोल है.
Actually, the problem in video tutorials from clinical point of view is
Like,
that many people
You want to clean the feces or urine, you
Not
can always.
a complete operation
Hmm.
so that a novice or a quack can see this. Okay, I can do this nasooral intubation. So
One
this
of-
is also another thing which we face a problem in this medical science. So there is one veterinary doctor in UP. He makes very good blog. He is Muslim. I forgot his
He
name.
makes very good.
Blogs, videos
Okay.
of the cases he solved, and I read the comments also.
Really?
So some people say that, okay, I can do this my own, and he is simply writing, don't.
No.
It requires expertise. So this is the shortcomings
Yes.
with our system.
I'm saying robotics because
Part of your extension is.
We cannot show them the complete operation.
in large herds, they've got problem of, sanitation, like the animals keep on defecating everywhere, urinating. So that way they could, guide animals towards a place.
Talking about which they automatically clean
No,
everything.
I'm not talking about that.
That's also-
Machine, I'm not.
ये कह रहे हैं कि उनको ऐसे सिखा रहे हैं जैसे हम कुत्ते को प्रैक्टिस कराते हैं कि भाई तू उधर जाके
We're going to his office
तो
over there.
गायों को भी वही सिखाया कि तेरे को गो आउट नहीं कर सकते।
हाँ, वो भी लेबर
ਉਹ ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਮੱਝ ਦੇ ਅੱਗੇ ਵੀਡੀਓ ਜੋ
बहुत
बहुत
problem
प्रॉब्लम यहाँ पे कुछ भी नहीं है.
And then
Population इतनी है
I have to be
आपको
back at the
300
scientist's house by 4.